Your suits, she's got on her halter and 4 of her bell boots all around. They just have a Velcro fastener, and I've tried to put the same boots on the same feet every time, so if there's new wear I can see where it is, where the marks are. You want them to be tight enough that the boot isn't allowed to turn around on their foot. When I go to harness her up, I start with the bridle because I want her blinders to be on. And she has a rubber-lined snaffle on this particular bridle. She seems to get along just fine in any snaffle that I've put her in. Is still pretty stiff and new, so you want to make sure that your blinders are out far enough and they're not against her eye like this. She needs to be able to see. Next thing you'll do is your throat latch, and then the easiest way for me to harness up, this may not be perfectly correct, but the easiest way for me is to take the saddle first and your britchin. They're hooked together. Throw my saddle over, and then just throw the britchin over her hip. And I like to do up my saddle first. So there's 2 straps here. This one is to hold the shaft, it's a keeper, and then this one attaches to the belly band, which is what you saw go flying when I threw it over her back. These straps here connect to the shaft once you have the cart hooked up. So this strap here goes into this keeper in the belly band. And it doesn't need to be super tight like a cinch, but it does need to be connected and touching her. And she'll blow up when you cinch her up, just like any horse. But you just want that to be enough to where it's not going to move around on her. It doesn't have to be crazy tight. These 2 straps, you can just stick them somewhere so if she moved around she wouldn't step on them. Then I'll go ahead and grab my breast collar. These long, thick pieces are the tugs. I'll put the breast collar around her chest, and this single piece goes over her wither. I'll throw the tugs up over her back to grab the tug on the other side, just so she doesn't step on them. And then your reins. This is a single piece of rein, so it's easiest to take them off every time you stop, every time you take your harness off. Otherwise they just get in your way. So you'll go through and make sure that they don't have any goofy loops or knots in them. Put the other one through this side. Good girl. And I'll just throw those up over her back so she won't step on them, hurt her mouth. I forgot my croup. Stick her tail through and then put the croup on. You want to do that right after you throw your britchin on, but I forgot. Go back on. So now she's fully harnessed up and ready to take the cart. You can back them into the shafts, but I would recommend not, because if she stepped on a shaft she could damage it. So the easiest way for me is to take and pull the cart forward. And just let her know that you're coming. I'll go underneath all these reins. These straps can come out of here. They don't belong there. They were just there so she wouldn't step on them. Stick your shaft through the keeper on one side, and don't go through all the way yet. Just give yourself a little bit. Go on the other side, put the shaft through the keeper on that side. Now you can come up more. So then I'll go ahead and go underneath. These 2 straps come into play here. So this is the belly band. It'll just go up around the shaft. Just another thing to control where the shaft is hanging. do this side first. Then I'll hook up my tug. I modified these tugs. I had to cut it so your swingle tree would fit because it was so wide. And then these little hook deals, they just keep it from sliding off while you're going. The britchin goes through this little keeper here, and I have been wrapping it around the shaft twice and then putting it on the first hole, and that seems to work for this buggy and harness combination. I'll go on the other side now. I'll do the same thing, do my belly band first. I just have that on the second hole on both sides. Second hole from the top. It's just to hold it. And then my tugs. Go over the swingle tree. And the britchin on this side. Goes through the same little keeper. And around. And it will be a little tight. That's okay. Around twice. I'll go ahead and set this up so the brass isn't rubbing against the shaft, because that would just create a spot of wear. I'll take my reins and throw them into the buggy. And last but not least, tie up her halter. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but the way that I prefer is to go around the middle piece of your saddle. This is actually where the bearing rein connects to, but I'm not using a bearing rein, as the one that came with this harness did not fit her, and she doesn't need one. The bearing rein is just a piece that goes from this up their neck, splits, and then connects to the bit or a cavesson, and keeps them from being able to lower their head while they're traveling, or from grazing, but she doesn't need that. So at this point, you're totally hooked up. She is completely in the cart, and she's ready to go. This guy is pretty cool. He comes up all the way, and then there's these two little locks on either side. And it'll stay just like that while you're going. Kind of interesting to climb into compared to my little cart. Walk. G. G. G is right and Ha is left. And I'll tell her easy to transition down and click at her and say get up for a transition up. And then of course whoa is stop, and back is back up. G. You want to be careful how tight you turn. There's rollers on the side of the cart on both sides, so when you turn sharp, that wheel will touch that roller instead of damaging the cart. But you have to be careful because those rollers can lock up, and if they lock up and lock your wheel, it has the possibility of flipping you over. So you just have to be careful how tight you turn. Give yourself plenty of room. She seems to take to driving very well, regardless of what she's in. As long as her blinders are on, she's good to go. And she's very soft on the reins. I don't have to put hardly any pressure on her to get her to stop, ooh, or to back. Back up, back, back, back. Good girl. Walk. She's just very easygoing. She's very easy to control. We'll get up on the road here. Good girl. Huh? Good. Get up. You can slap your reins on her butt for a little extra emphasis. She wanted to turn right there because we often go up that trail. But you saw how easy she was to correct. Up. Get up. Good girl. She will lope in this buggy as well. Hey, easy. Trot. Good girl. She's very easy to bring back. She doesn't want to run off or anything. She's very quiet. So we're going to take her apart here. Show you exactly what I do to get her unhooked from the cart. We don't have your dash on yet, as you can see. I'll make sure the reins are out of the buggy. And the first thing I'll do is go ahead and undo these britchins. Take off the britchin, and I will unhook this belly band. And unhook the tug on one side. And I trust that she'll just wait for me. And we'll undo the britchin on this side. And undo the belly band. And this leather is new, so it's still pretty firm at this point. Undo my tug. So she's completely unhooked from the cart here, from your buggy. I can just grab onto the shaft, and it doesn't matter which one, and just pull backwards. And the shafts will come out of the keepers on their own. She's unhooked. The easiest way to take her harness off is to unhook her reins first. Otherwise, they just get in your way. These reins are a single loop, which makes it a little more complicated. So it's easier if they're just not with you. Take and loop them up so they're not a big tangled mess. Go ahead and undo her halter rope. So if she did decide to move or go somewhere, I could effectively stop her. The next thing I'll do is take off her breast collar. That's just the one strap the tugs will come with. Then I will go ahead and undo the group. Do her saddle. So this is the belly band down here, and this strap goes up to the saddle. So from there we're totally disconnected. I can just pick up on the saddle and pick up on the britchin, and it'll all come with. We just lay them over here. Last thing is her bridle. The bridle is always the first to go on and the last to come off. Ask her to lower her head. Let her spit that bit out on her own.